Story time about how half of my coworkers got fired after management found our hidden break room. I used to work for a department store a few years back. One day one of my coworkers pointed out a door in the back room, hidden off in the corner, and asked if anyone knows what's back there. Feeling adventurous, we asked the shift lead we were cool with to come with us and unlock it. It led to what appeared to be an electrical room, and behind that there was another door that led to a huge storage area that no one knew about. The storage room had old dusty promotional displays from 10 years ago and other random items that looked ancient, leading us to believe that no one had been back there in quite some time. The three of us started sneaking off and taking our breaks in the storage room, slowly inviting coworkers we trusted to come hang out. We ended up making it our secret break room that only some of us knew about. However, the secret didn't last long. Rumors of a secret hangout spot started traveling around the back room pretty quickly. Slowly but surely, more and more of our coworkers started frequenting our secret hangout spot. One night, a few of the guys snuck in a bottle of alcohol and it turned into a 10-minute break of passing the bottle around while the song Shots played on someone's iPhone. There were also rumors about the overnight shift finding the secret break room and sneaking in to do the nasty. I knew management would find out soon, and sure enough, they did. What they found back there was enough to fire half of my coworkers. Part 2 about how half of my coworkers got fired after management found our hidden break room. With word traveling fast about the crazy things going on in the secret break room, I knew it was also a matter of time before management heard about the rumors being spread. I decided to stop taking my breaks in there with the others because I had a feeling that we were about to get raided. For a few weeks, it was fine, and I kept hearing more and more stories about what was going on in the hidden room, especially during the overnight shifts. It was being used as a spot to hang out, drink on the job with friends, sleep during your break, and apparently sleep with others while at work as well. As I predicted, management heard about the craziness and decided to pop in at peak hidden break room hours one day, which led to a lot of people getting fired. Apparently, they went in and found coworkers doing party drugs and of course fired them on the spot. This led to a drug test for everyone on shift, which some of my coworkers failed. I guess word didn't get to the overnight shift, or they just didn't care, because management popped in again at the dead of night and found another guy sound asleep in there, complete with a pillow and blanket from the store. All the firings led to us being super short staffed right in time for peak season. OGs that are still working at the store years later tell the tale about the secret break room to all the newbies to this day. Most of them think it's just an old wives' tale, but the old timers like me know it's a fact and a classic store legend. Story time about how my carefree friend got rich by listening to the universe. I have a friend named Paige who's a free spirit. She believes in going with the flow, not stressing and letting the universe decide what happens next. I've always been more of a planner and kind of a workaholic. Paige always said that I work too hard and need to relax. She'd say I stress about things too much and the universe already has a plan for me, so I should let it run its course, but I never listened. I've had 2 jobs and I've been in school full time for as long as I can remember. I always believe that if you want something, you have to work hard for it and make it happen. I never believed in just sitting back and waiting for things to happen for me or leaving it up to the universe, as she'd often preach. However, maybe I should have slowed down and taken her advice. Over a few years, Paige and I drifted apart. She messaged me one day telling me that she was coming back to town and she'd like to visit me while she's here. I was absolutely shocked when she pulled up in a brand new Tesla. Paige never really cared about money and didn't really work besides selling her natural healing oils, which paid okay but nothing crazy. I hopped in and noticed she also had an expensive designer bag, eco-friendly of course, and expensive jewelry on. When I asked her where she got all this from, she told me that the universe got it for her, which is something that I'd expect her to say, but it didn't make any sense. What she was about to tell me changed my outlook on things and made me think that Paige's ideas and beliefs weren't so far-fetched after all. Part 2 about how my carefree friend got rich by listening to the universe. Paige told me how she always knew things would work out and the universe would take care of her if she did her part. She told me she got all of this money by being nice to the earth and catering to Mother Nature, which still made absolutely no sense to me. It sounded good, but I knew that the money didn't just fall into her lap from the sky for being nice to the planet and believing that the universe would take care of her. Upon further questioning, she finally explained that the universe told her to invest half of her money into something she believed in and donate the other half. She said she had been putting half of her money into solar power and eco-friendly stocks and donating the other half to environmental activists over the years. Paige believed that since she was doing her part to care for the planet was caring for her back. Well, it turns out that the stocks that she invested in for years blew up. She made enough money to live comfortably for the rest of her life. To be honest, I was in complete shock. I always thought her carefree attitude and laid-back lifestyle wouldn't get her too far, but I turned out to be completely wrong. She ended up doing way better than me, all while working and stressing a lot less. Since then, I've taken a page from Paige's book. I worry a lot less about the little things and try to enjoy my life with her same stress-free attitude. Maybe with this way of thinking, the universe will look out for me next. Or maybe she just got lucky. Story time about the weirdest things to happen while working as a stripper. I was giving a $25 dance in a busy room filled with other dancers. It was the room for the cheap customers, so there weren't any dividers. Just a big room filled with armchairs and people watching each other get private dances. At this specific club, dancers were required to remove our shoes during private dances so we wouldn't damage the armchairs. We usually put our shoes and whatever else under the chair so that nobody would mess with them while we were busy. After the private dances, my guy and the guy next to me are the only ones to buy a second dance. The rest of the girls clear out and it's just me and another girl. When I look over, the other guy is sniffing the sole of the girl's shoe behind her back while she's grinding on him. We make eye contact and he drops her shoe. I don't want to ruin my own private dance by saying something, so I ignored it and just continued to do my thing. They were only 3 feet away, so it was hard not to notice things. I look over again and he's doing it again. He noticed me looking and dropped the shoe, looking away. Finally, a third time I look over and this dude is giving the heel of her stripper shoe a freaking BJ, all while making eye contact with me. This time, he holds eye contact and intensely stares at me. That's when I got creeped out and avoided him the rest of the night. I also never told the girl that her shoe had been defiled. Part 2 of the weirdest things to happen while working as a stripper. One night, there was an older gentleman around 55 years old buying lots of double dances. He was tipping generously and even buying everyone in the bar a round of drinks at some point. It was around 1 in the morning when this large, curly, red-haired lady smashes down onto the push and door lever as hard as humanly possible. Every patron in the club turned and looked at the door. She stood there in all her glory with a red fried perm, mom jeans, and thick framed glasses. I could instantly tell that she was seething with anger. She was on a mission and stormed towards the back of the club where the VIP rooms were, all while shouting, "Derek! Derek, where the F are you?" The bouncer immediately notices and runs towards the back, trying to stop her from causing any problems. However, it was too late. She swings the VIP room door open and sees him in there with 2 girls getting a double dance. She immediately grabs him by the arm and starts yanking him towards the door, all while smacking him repeatedly. She pulls him out into the parking lot and then into her car. That was the last we ever saw of generous old Derek. Story time about how I found out my husband was cheating on me with his stepsister and her best friend. My husband and I had been married for 5 years. We were living in another state when he was fired from work and my job wasn't paying well enough. We decided to move in with his family until we could figure things out and get back on our feet. He had a stepsister and she was drop dead gorgeous. Since he didn't have a job, he would spend most of his time at home while I dropped off our son at daycare and then went to work. When I would get home, he'd go to the bar. At first, I thought things were normal and he was just stressed out about not being able to find work. However, I started getting suspicious once he started being a little aggressive towards me. He stopped wanting to talk to me as often and barely slept next to me anymore. His parents planned a trip to Europe and asked us to take care of the house while they were gone, to which we agreed. I noticed whenever I wasn't home, he would be home alone with his stepsister, and whenever I got back, they would both leave. I also noticed he wasn't trying very hard to find a job, leaving all the responsibilities to me. One day I was calling him while I was at work and he wasn't picking up. I had a bad feeling and asked my boss if I could leave early. Thankfully, my boss was nice and let me go. When I got home, I heard 2 girls giggling and the sound of a guy huffing coming from our room upstairs. What I saw next left me devastated. Part 2 of how I found out my husband was cheating on me with his stepsister and her best friend. When I came home and heard the sounds coming from our room upstairs, my blood was rushing through my body. I quietly went up the stairs and found my husband screwing his stepsister and her best friend at the same time. I was so devastated and heartbroken. I didn't know what to do, so I quickly rushed out of the house and went back to work. When I didn't return home that night, my husband called me asking why I was late and started accusing me of cheating. That's when I realized that none of them had seen me earlier and decided to get back at him. Earlier that day when I returned to work, my boss asked me if I was okay because he noticed my eyes were red from crying. I broke down, and you know how the saying goes, a shoulder to cry on becomes a D to ride on. When I told him what I saw, he told me to file for divorce and make him pay for the nasty deed. He also told me that he'd be by my side and would take care of everything, including a place for me and my son to stay. I went home that night like nothing was wrong and acted like things were okay. The next day came and I went home early again to catch him in the act. This time I recorded footage of him cheating for evidence. In the end, I got a divorce, money, and full custody of my son. Now I'm married to my boss, living in a big house with someone who deeply loves and respects me. I obtained custody of my sister's 3 kids back in 2018 after she left them alone for 2 weeks to go on a drug bender. It was a huge transition for the kiddos because not only did they have to switch schools and daycares, but they also wouldn't be able to see their mother anymore. I've adopted the kids and have full custody of them. They're doing better now and leading happier lives. Recently though, my sister was released from prison and wants to see them. She called me begging to have a visit with them and telling me that I could give them back now because she was out of prison. I've had a talk with the 9-year-old and he says he doesn't want to see his mom yet. He told me that he still hates her for leaving him alone. The girls have no memories of her. The smallest was only 3 months old the last time she saw her. I feel like I could have helped them foster a better relationship with their mom, but I don't want to force them to meet her if they don't want to. My close family has told me that the oldest doesn't know what he's talking about, and it's my fault the little ones don't remember their mother because I didn't take them to see her when she was in prison. They also told me that it's my responsibility to force them to meet her even when they don't want to because it's what's best for them and they shouldn't grow up without their mother. I've spoken to a professional about this and they said it should be up to the kids. Am I being a jerk to my sister by not letting her kids see her if they don't want to? Part 2 of not letting my sister see her kids. I gave my oldest 2 weeks to really think about whether he wanted to see my sister or not. I figured that his original decision might have been made out of anger, so I wanted to give him time to make such an important decision. Ultimately, he decided that he did actually want to talk to her. I was a bit surprised, but we set up a Zoom call between them with me supervising. Right before the call, he admitted to me that he wanted to talk to her just to see if she'd say sorry. She didn't. Instead, she opened the call with, "Hello, it's been so long. I guess you're ready to come home with me now?" That's when she noticed I was sitting there with him. She immediately launched into accusations of alienation, followed by saying if I don't give the kids back, then she'd call the police and say I kidnapped them. My oldest was disgusted and asked her if she was going to apologize to him. She had the audacity to ask what for. At that point, he shut off the Zoom call. I asked him if he was okay, but he spent the rest of the afternoon in his room by himself. That night, he told me that he never wanted to talk to her again. I told him he didn't have to talk to her again if he didn't want to, and we'd never give him back over to her. Before now, I honestly never considered myself as their parent, even after legally adopting them. Now I realize those kids are my kids and they're going to be for the rest of my life. I met my ex in college and we started a business right after our senior year. Eventually, our business started having financial troubles. He came from wealth, so I asked him to get a loan from his parents and he agreed. 2 months later, he asked for all the money back. We were always planning to pay it, but mutually decided on manageable installments. He said he needed it because his father was sick, but he wouldn't give details or let me call his mother. The money was already invested in our business. I had to take some out and give away all my personal savings. 3 weeks after this, he called me and ended things. He also wanted out of the business. The only time I saw him was with lawyers when we divided our business assets and he withdrew his name from all the documents. I was devastated, emotionally traumatized, traumatized and had no finances to fall back on. I moved back in with my mother and later found out that his father was never sick. 5 years later, I never gave up on my business and it paid off. Now I live a comfortable life. In the midst of lockdown, I got a message from my ex saying that his parents cut him out of their will. He had a child with a woman who left him and he was now struggling to feed his son. He said since he was instrumental to the business foundation, he deserved a cut from it now that it was successful. My lawyer said he has no legal claims to the business. However, my best friend thinks I'm being selfish because he was responsible for the business idea and his initial investment was twice as much as mine. Am I wrong for not wanting to help him out? Part 2 of not wanting to help my ex after he left our business. I found out through friends that both of his parents had passed away during those 5 years that we didn't have contact. After receiving the message from him stating that his parents cut him out of the will and he was struggling to feed his son, I looked into it. I was able to verify that he does indeed have a son.
Person you can see, oh no. Why are all your feelings pulling on for sure? But you're the only one clapping in the front row. It's faking it, the only thing